Welcome everyone. Welcome back. If you listened to the previous videos already, my name is Sanni Bäkkönen and I am a frequency facilitator and light field technician, so to say, these fancy words, but it's really about working deeply with the mechanics of frequency and light and energy in our daily lives. And I have an honor to be here with Melinda Molnar, who's also a frequency worker, and we have a beautiful, unique ways of expressing this work. So we are here to really help to bring this up into an awareness and for people to take it home and implement and really bring it into their daily lives. So it's easier for us to awaken and embody the awakening as humanity.
Yes. Hello everyone. Thank you, Sunny. The way today came about, or how we came up to that, is really a quick flash of information as to how to present this to you all. Since our visual senses are the most prominent for most of us, I'm going to try to explain this or paint an imagery. And then I invite you to take this into your body, into your feeling senses. So the imagination or the perception, understanding that we are fractals of the eternal light. So if you imagine light going all over, everywhere, right? We are fractals of that, slowed down in frequency to be able to look solid on this three-dimensional plane. And we are connected to the core of this three-dimensional plane, Mother Earth. So from above, from below, from side to side, all angles, we are surrounded by and emanating and part of light, the bit of light. And if you can imagine that, and if you'd like to take a deep breath into your body and imagine that in the core, behind your solar plexus, towards your spine, is the emanation of you as part of this life. And from here, let's bathe in this for a second. This is quite a wonderful space to be. And from here, then I ask the question that how do distortion patterns arise, come in, stay with us, stay stuck?
Yes, that is a deep question, and thank you for guiding us into that image or visualization or experience, direct experience of being the living light, fractal of the living light. And so, you oftentimes hear people speaking about pure source, and in the previous videos I also open up that I often speak to that as the living God that is beyond any religious doctrines and stuff, but just completely a direct, intimate relationship to the living source and God. And so now if we think about it, the living light is coming from that source. It's like our true parent of where we all come from, like we're the children and the droplets of that living light. And that's where the frequency of truth is existing. And again, like people get so tangled into needing to understand and define the truth and have it as this concept. But what frequency work really and frequency awareness helps us to do is to fully embody the frequency of the truth before we even define it mentally. Because if we are, say, receiving what truth is, what is wrong, what is right from someone, and it's not a direct experience in the body, it's always going to be someone's conception, someone's perception. So that is the essence of when we know that the frequency is up here, that it's undistorted, right? It's this clear expression of that very specific, unique say frequency that then creates patternings. Like for example, pattern of prosperity would be in its pure form, it would be extremely clear resonance, right? Or it is a clear resonance. And so when we say distortion pattern, it is almost like if you have this clear expression and clear light coming through for those who are visual, and then you place a filter, a story, a belief, an identity, perhaps even traumatic experience, all these human experiences over time, when we place them in front of that clear living expression, it will change, right? And we'll see what we see on the other end is our life with those filters, instead of seeing our life through the pure clear lens and pure clear frequencies. And so what is essential is to help to take those filters out and return into that space where the frequencies that you resonate in this moment, which every single living being resonates in frequency, a stone, a rock, earth, birds, squirrels, humans, everybody is resonating a frequency. And now human is extremely intricate design on the frequency level, is that we are made of billions of different frequencies. And now if say those say 3/4 of those frequencies resonating in your body right now would be distorted, it also creates a distorted reality for you, right? And so where do these distortions come from? It's deeply connected to our linear identity, what I sometimes call the soul level identity instead of the spirit identity. But this is the part of ourselves that has history, right? The part of the personality and identity that exists here in the linear time instead of a timeless space, right? And now in the linear time, again, I'm going to paint an image again, like you did in the beginning. Think about that there is this living God or this pure creation. And it's also pure potential, right? And from there, individual beings were created to have free will, okay? And this goes even beyond just, say, a human race. This goes also to other light beings, and there's a lot of creatures and beings out there in the spirit, walking in the spirit. And so there is this law of free will in this universe that we live, meaning that every single human has that unique, almost like blueprint. And in any given moment, you can choose one or the other way. You can choose from a billion different options of how you resonate, what you resonate with your free will, meaning that you can choose to engage with some kind of abusive behavior, or you can choose to support and uplift those who's been victims of abusive behavior, for example. And now, of course, if it was that easy, this planet would be completely enlightened. So this is where the complication comes into image, is that people have gotten so far. So when the human spirit became, the moment that you were born, before the time of your conception, you entered into your unique timeline, your time print, so to say. And from that moment on, you are experiencing yourself here in the linear time. And now all the stuff that is in the, say, DNA, human collective history, and then those experiences that you experience as you're growing up, it builds up and builds up into these patterns. And now people have gotten so far from the living truth that they've forgotten that they are actually free in any given moment to create whatever they want to create, or whatever is the, say, I call it the will of eternal, whatever is for the greatest benefit. And this is where people forget, and they say, if you have a pathway in the jungle, that would be that pathway of freedom, that any given moment you're free from your past and from your history, from all the patterns that your ancestors created, no matter how successful or distorted they are. And now over time, you've gotten, like, your DNA line has gotten so much off the path into the deep jungle. And there you are in the jungle, really like referring yourself to your environment, to the possibilities that you have available, the options that are available for you immediately around you, and it becomes more difficult to see the pure potential or the full potential. We only can see like 1% of what is possible, right? And so then we define our identity based on what that box has around it, or what that 360-degree view in the deep in the jungle is. And then we'll start referring ourselves like, okay, I see this stuff, then I have to be here, or this is my response. So it will start building up that personality. And when, say, distortions like that, they start building up over time, it means that people are, even when they're born and they come into DNA in that time print, unique time print, they already carry a lot of distortion patterns, right? And the way out of this is extremely simple. And this has been like Eternal Christ has spoken about this, and Gautama Buddha was speaking about this, is simply coming so deeply into that presence where you flush yourself clean from all the history so that you can start creating your future from this present moment. So that was kind of a longer explanation of what a distortion pattern is. And yeah, we can continue to go deeper into it if you have any questions.
That was a beautiful explanation. Thank you. Even though it seemed like it was lengthy, but it was all needed to build up this depth of understanding, which that's what we're awakening to. We're going deeper and deeper into who are we, where did we come from, what are we? And as we drop deeper into that present moment, that's where these informations come from. And then we drop yet deeper, and then we start to see the patterns. So we are dropping into the depths of ourselves, and each pattern you see, like, don't need this and don't need that. Now, you said it was very simple, and it's simple, and yet many find it difficult because those patterns seem to have like attached to you, right? It's hard to release or sticky for a lot of people since it's been practiced through generations. Can you? Sure, you can. Okay, that's my question on that.
Yes, so that is very much true. You know, any human, you know, who's listening to this could probably like, yep, I've been there. Like there's been this sticky pattern that has been really just like latching onto my life, even though I'm awake and I'm aware that it's there, but how come it's just not changing? Like I continue to attract this lack or similar toxic relationship or a specific kind of people in your life who tend to, you know, there's this weird power dynamic and giving your power away again and again and again. So these are kind of a patterns that everybody one or the other way has been experiencing and still is. And this is where the importance of collective awakening comes into picture, is that we live in a time of transparency right now where we cannot put those patterns down anymore. We need to liberate ourselves from it, because all that stuff that has been suppressed down, say, sometimes I call it the generational distortion patterns that are deeply connected to specific generations and waves of how people come in on earth. So that kind of like generational distortion patterns are coming up to be seen. And then here we are, like you may be experiencing your great-grandmother's patterns right now, because the human collective right now is at the level where it's supported all the way in the DNA. And where the challenge comes is that those distortion patterns, they create realities, okay, different timeline realities. And those realities, they are always somehow limited because they are not the eternal reality, but they are a version of it in the linear world and conditioned world. Therefore, it's almost like a frame. If you think about a painting of a frame, like there's all this stuff that is happening inside the frame, but it seems like there's no way out of the frame. So there's like a limit to it. And because it's a reality, it actually feels extremely real, and it is real for itself. But when we go into like what is really true and what is actually happening here, if we go back to that eternal, say, intimate connection to truth, then we'll begin to see that those realities are not actually absolute truth. They are just versions of it. And that when somebody is in a limited reality, it may be extremely difficult to walk out of it because it seems impossible. And these are the things that we cannot fully see outside the container, right? And so Albert Einstein was referring to this as well, like you cannot find the solution to problem in the same consciousness. He was referring to that frame of reality. You'll have to go into a higher frequency of reality. So with a frequency awareness, it really helps us to start doing that work from the inside, simply instead of going back and say healing all the distortion patterns, you just simply stop creating new distortion patterns. This was Buddha's teaching as well. He called this the Wheel of Samskara. You just stop creating a new Wheel of Samskara, which would be this building your future again from your past and limited by the past, so to say. And so with frequency awareness, we begin to fully expand the light of awareness, and it lifts and raises the frequency of the body. It's very much connected to nervous system, cellular memory, DNA level. It literally pushes out those distorted realities. And then it helps people to arrive on that higher ground where we get a second chance or third chance, the 10th, whatever, 100th chance, like how many chances we need. But the beauty of it is that at the higher ground, again, there is no history. And therefore you're born again from that freedom. And again, this is what a deep teaching from Christ is, that, there's this whole idea about salvation and savior. But really the point of that savior piece is that when somebody's fully having a direct revelation of that, or direct revelation of intimacy with pure source, they are being lifted up from the distorted realities. And then they almost like, we get this chance to start seeing all those distortions playing in our lives and then make a different choice, right? And that's where the support is needed. That's where we support each other on a frequency level to continue to walk on that higher ground. So that's what it means to be saved from that battlefield that has been happening there.
Beautiful. I tried to pin a few questions in there. Let me see which one. So first, I'll summarize a little bit. So we used to be all, most of us, limited by these distortion patterns. So let's say that there are a lot of these picture frames within the container of our consciousness, our human understanding of ourselves. And through the higher frequencies coming through and more of us awakening, we are breaking out of these frames. Our light becomes more visible and it spreads out more, and it raises the vibration of the whole container. Also, it's starting to lift it into a different frequency dimension container. So we're shifting the consciousness. And so there are people who see that and they're very much, yes, that's what we're doing. There are also people who are very much experiencing in their lives the breaking apart of those frames. Mm-hmm. And as the distortions coming out, it's almost like all these distorted frequencies being released in the air. So like we see smoke in the air, and people think, oh my gosh, there's no more sunshine because we only have smoke. Mm-hmm. And that is also the other perception that a lot of people see, that in my reality, I see destruction, I see smoke. Okay. But we are in the process of clearing that smoke fully. We are in the process of lifting and going along with and in as integrated part of this consciousness that's rising. And sins, it is required that we embody that truth that comes through. This new consciousness is built on that truth. So everybody coming to it is experiencing that, the new life. Because it's when you said we pull up and we get a new chance, it's almost like, okay, we used to be here, we pull up, we're gonna either lift this or go over here. And you immediately drop into a different time space reality. You have no past. You're starting brand new.
Yes, exactly. That was a really beautiful way to really sum it up and describe it as well, and how it is it's real thing for like really wanting to acknowledge everyone who is holding a lot of trauma in body. And these days trauma awareness is raising really strongly. Say like yoga teacher trainings, etc., are required to take that trauma sensitive classes, etc., to begin to understand how to even comprehend this. Because really, let's face it, like anybody who's a human has experienced trauma. Even just the fact that you were coming through the mother's womb into this world, and whatever happened in a birth is a trauma, essentially. And so everybody carries trauma, and now some of us has gotten very much hurt on the way, or being the ones who have hurt, which creates even deeper hurt sometimes, like the guilt and the shame of or what say the choices that our parents made, and then we carry the guilt of that. And so it gets so complicated in that world, and it's like literally like this mug and web of stuff that even if you take one stuff out, it seems like there's always something more coming from underneath. And so that's again like this the support that is coming in to clearing, including the body. So not leaving the body, not leaving into those higher states in your meditation on say psychedelic journeys, etc., but really being in the body and beginning to deeply shift the frequency, like channels that are happening in the body and the memories. And so some people detox, when and I'm sure that you've also experienced this with your clients, this detox happening, right? And some people are very quick, so it may be just a few minutes type of thing where it feels like, oh, like things are just physically, like you feel yucky and pain and all that stuff, and even like say hangover the next few days. Others are detoxing in ways for a longer time, depending how much there is. And that's becoming significantly more efficient, though I've noticed in my work, is that people report it less and less. And the detox is literally that, think about that pattern that's been rooted there like a mycelium web. And now as you no longer entertain that environment in your body on a frequency level for that pattern to continue to run, it doesn't have anywhere to hydrate itself, so it has to die. And so that's what's happening in like it gets pulled out of your system, and then on the way out it's coming through your awareness. And that is very important point, because that's where you get to exercise your free will. It's like, okay, I see this pattern coming up, and now do I want to continue to run this pattern, or do I want to get rid of it or just allow it to dissolve, right? And so that's the important choice point. And so many people, when they feel that these patterns even get more triggered, it feels like instead of taking steps forward, you're going steps backward. They tend to go back to the old identity, right? Which is just reinforcing that pattern in the system. So that's where the support that we share to each other is extremely important, that we have these people in our lives who hold us accountable. Like when you get to that point where you just want to scream and run away and just completely not exist in that space, that you just continue to go forward. And that's what we oftentimes refer to confirming the deletion of the distortion pattern from your system. You confirm, I'm going to keep walking forward, and this time I'm not carrying this pattern with me anymore. So learning how to say full body no is important. This has been something that, in the healing community where I live, there's a lot of this like reframing negative talking and never say no to anything, but just always like speaking in positive way. And there is, of course, medicine for those who are like deep into like say negative self-talk patterns. But saying no is also important. Saying no is so important, and we need to really know how to do a full body no and full body yes, right? And this is again what makes this to be very much in-body experience. You're never ever out of the chance and opportunity to confirm the release of the old pattern and stepping into a new reality.
That was beautiful. Thank you. And you bringing in this last piece, the saying no, this just opens up another pathway. I feel that we are coming to the new point of saying no because of what it holds. It holds you strengthening your boundary. You're confirming with that no, because no is, you said before in one of your classes, that is the in between the spirit and the body. You can hear it, but it's not physical. So saying no with your full alignment from your strength, you strengthen and solidify your boundary, your spirit body, that this is my space. So yes, very important. And I just realized because the frequency of yes is so much softer. It allows, it opens. So we also need the ability to close when something is not beneficial to us or taking from us. And again, distortion patterns come in here, right? Because if you have patterns of I can't say no, or I need to help so that others think I'm good, or a lot of people don't even know that, right? They help because it makes them feel better. It's a validation. And when you see those for what it is, then your internal can come to that strength, that authentic self, and very easily and honestly say yes or no. Oh, and a question in there somewhere.
I actually have something to respond to this. It's just bubbling up, so you can hold your question there. That's
remember, so we'll see.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, to everything that you shared. And it really comes also into this piece of like the distortion patterns are never anybody's fault, really, because everybody is only taking action from a space and knowledge, understanding that they have in the current situation. And say, if we look at back to the human history, it's absolutely crazy with all the war and hunger and all this kind of experiences that are really challenging also in the body, really. And so think about like some of your ancestors have said that no matter what it takes, and like there are people here but maybe listening to who may, you've heard yourself say this, like whatever it takes, I want to heal this, or whatever it takes, I'll do it, right? But that even is a quite a vulnerable pathway to create, right? Because you open the door to whatever, meaning that there are actually forces in this universe that are distorted and they are not directly from the living light. And if you open that kind of door and that kind of almost like prayer or intention, like whatever it takes, that kind of forces, they find you and they're like, okay, you said whatever, so I'm gonna enter into your system and live through you in one or the other way, because those forces are empty on their own. It means that they don't have a creation power on their own. Only what they can do is to use the pathways that your creative mind is using, which is, again, it's coming back to the free will. Like you have a free will to create with your mind. Whatever you send out, you create these pathways that opens up doors. It creates realities. And now human mind has created extremely dark realities in the past. Extremely dark. Not even evil. So it's not exactly like this, but I'm just going to put it here as like this like polarity sense, like good and evil, right? Like pure and distorted. You can think of that's this way. That these distorted forces, they they fell off from grace. Okay, and if you read any kind of indigenous mythological stories, religious old ancient texts, they all describe this happening in one or the other way. That there is this grace and purity, wisdom, original design, and then there is this aspect that fell from the grace. Okay, and that's where, say, pride and greed and desire to be above, say, the Most High comes in the picture. The desire to have all the riches of the world, or desire this and that is human mind that has gone evil. Okay, and it's created extremely dark realities, and not even evil itself will create that kind of realities. This is what we're talking about. So our free will, I'm not gonna, like, I don't want to freak you out, but I've had some like really crazy experiences with those realities and spirits, and it's real. It's definitely real. It's not just BS. Somebody like dreaming about nightmares. It's a real thing. The say the spiritual warfare that is happening, and there is a ground that is above all of that. And again, this is where the frequency work helps us to go, is that for whatever reason those distortion patterns started from, because somebody might have done it from a space of fear. For example, we're going to take all of your family unless you do this. And then there you are, like, what do? You love your children. And then the option is there to sell your power to this distortion or manipulation, right? So that's how deep we go. Think about every single ancestor who walked before you. They've made decisions in every moment, right? And those decisions always create consequences. So this is where it comes so important. We cannot blame anyone, because all the people, only, even the most evil people, they only can operate from what they know in that moment. And this is why it's so important to take that radical self-responsibility and stop blaming your ancestry, your karmic whatever, blaming society and conspiracy theory stuff and politics, and it's because of that and that and that and that. It's because of the Europeans came to US and took all the indigenous people's lands. That's a real thing what happened, right? Because that's how distorted the human power abuse became. But it's not an excuse for you to not take the radical self-responsibility in this moment. It always comes back to this moment. It literally can take half a second for you to be free from all of that. And then you'll get to actually take action that is really creating a beneficial outcome. You're not only just blaming and pulling your anger in all directions, but you're actually taking action that is creating an impact, like generations to come after you. This is where we want to get with the frequency awareness.
You blew it out of and as your resonation is happening through your words, there's no question yet that is a decision. We have that power.
Your voice is coming a little bit in and out right now. Do you have just wanted to check there. Okay.
I wonder whether that happens when I get into certain.
It's good now.
Okay. Or move the microphone and it's.
Yes. So what you were saying?
I know. I'm going to try to go back to what I was saying. Yes. So you are embodying that higher frequency. It comes through your voice. So in your present, I'm sure a lot of people align, and there's a clear understanding that yes, it is your free will and it's an intent, and it comes from you. You are the owner of it. You are who create from it. And I'm also going to bring in that when we forget that the mind comes in and people say, what do you think a person who was threatened with something like that, like family taken away, could have been a choice that doesn't open the life? And then I'll take it back. Well, what created the reality that made someone do that to another? to even think, I will take your family, unless. So it always goes up and up and up and up. And many times people find themselves in the just right now, I don't see that. Where, what way can they look, finding themselves to find around with them being able to save their family and not over to whatever.
So this is where it is so important to understand that we cannot fully grasp how eternal works. Okay, so if you prefer using eternal source or living light or God, I'm just going to speak God right now. But what God is capable of doing, like in those the eternal realms, and this is again like when we've forgotten that we are coming from that space and forgot how to embody it. We may go there with our mind and belief, but it hasn't become a fully embodied revelation yet. When the challenging moment comes, we tend to go to the solutions that we know in that reality, which is again, it only leaves us like one or two options. Like in this example, where someone's children are being taken away, and then you only have this choice. This is a totally deception. This is a totally a manipulation technique of the distortion. Okay. The distorted forces are, because they don't have power on their own, they depend on your life. And so that's where all kind of manipulation comes from, that space. It's pretty much like dark magic or black magic. And somebody needs to like exercise this, a free will of this entity needs to exercise power abuse in order to gain power, right? So they don't rest in purity and true love and connection on their own, which is essentially quite sad if we're looking at from that perspective, right? And so it creates this extremely real feeling realities and it is real when you're in it, but it's extremely important to, in those moments, if say that kind of situation happened, is to continue to connect to the eternal. And the more intimate your relationship to living God is, the more you receive support from the eternal as well, meaning that because you resonate in the higher frequency, it means that you would find there would be a higher frequency solution that comes in and again pulls you out of that situation, and then you move forward with a higher frequency solution. I've seen this way too many times to not believe it, even in moments when it looks totally devastating. And I've been there myself too. It's like, this does not make any sense of how the solution came about. But in those moments, extremely important to continue to strengthen the faith, really. And when I say faith, I mean the absolute trust and confidence in something. And in this case, in eternal, and in this case, in your intimate relationship to truth. Because you know that even when things get even when they look bad here, you are fully anchored in the truth, and then you make decisions and you respond from that space. And any manipulation frame or any kind of system or strategy or trick of the distorted, say, entities or these forces, dark forces, they cannot do anything about it, because you are fully with the truth that is completely impenetrable, meaning that the truth cannot be distorted. Otherwise, it wouldn't be truth, right? So when you are fully resonating with that space, and I'm pointing up, but it's really everywhere in your body, it's below you as well, in the earth, etc., behind the spine, inside the spine, every direction. When you are in that intimate relationship, you have so much, you literally resonate with the frequency of the Most High, which is above all those, say, all the distorted forces. And therefore you receive support from that space, you receive thoughts, even you receive whatever you need in that situation to let it unfold in, or let it spiral into a higher frequency solution. And it sounds impossible for human mind. Well, that's not possible for me, right? but it is. And miracles, impossible things are only impossible until we do it, and then it's possible. And this is again like when the human collective consciousness is raising, like our collective consciousness is raising, the frequencies of the bodies are raising, we'll begin to see more options, meaning that before, if there were only 2 options, now there's like 100 options. And so the field of opportunities around will start opening up, providing solutions from a completely different place. And it literally feels like it's coming from out of this world, because it is coming out of this world. It's coming from beyond this world, right? So that's why your mind cannot comprehend it right now. And the trickiest piece is that when that kind of stressful situation comes, that you don't give into it, but you continue, that you evoke that deep faith in your heart to source from a different place. Remember, this is not my reality, even though I'm in it right now, but I'm not of it. I'm not limited by it. Okay. And oftentimes it is even said that, say, truth or God enters into people when they are completely broken. And this is the reason when we don't have any other place to go, we go to the faith. And we go, like, if there's anybody out there in eternal, if there is this like intelligence that would be there for me, whether it's your higher self or God or eternal source, it's all coming from the same source, is like, come now, because I don't know anything else to do. And those are the moments when people are literally pulled off those distorted realities. So yeah, that was the lengthy answer.
And what that brings me to the end is there is extreme awakening in pain. And for so many get that place to they get to the point of breaking, and so whatever is happening or seeing, it is a process. And we did to get to that state of higher consciousness, more opportunity, where we then have totally different things, creating a brand new consciousness, brand new connections, communications. We are reshaping humanity on Earth.
Yes, absolutely. Melinda, your voice is coming really strongly in and out. I could only hear like some of that. So I feel like it may be good for us to wrap up this video and just check on that audio, because I don't want to miss any of the juicy words that you share and insights that you share. So yes, essentially it comes into that deeper awakening as a human collective on Earth that is happening, and really surfing the wave, the momentum that is here, and utilizing each other's growth. There's so many people that are burgeoning right now, struggling, going through a dry season because those weeds are being like killed in your life, so to say. Killing is a strong word, but literally, if there's a distortion that has been growing in your life, this is really the time of transparency when all those weeds are being pulled off, and there may be this like dry season that you're walking through, like decrease in income or clients suddenly disappearing, because you're going through that inner metamorphosis and evolution that is happening. And those distortions that have been part of your identity, but there's been a ceiling, right? Those need to die out, and it looks like a personality death, right? Dying is never easy. It really is never easy, but it is part of this world that we've been living in. And right now we're in this momentum of a collective detox as well. And that's why it's also important to continue to bring in the higher frequency, so that we have something to fill those empty spaces with, right? We don't want to leave any empty spaces in our system, because otherwise something else will come and fill it in, other than your awareness and the presence of the living light. So we'll continue to do this work together. And Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Thank you, Melinda, and we'll continue to go deeper into these juicy topics.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Bye.